mobile telecommunications company Vodacom seeing a 22% rise in their first half headline earnings per share. That's to 369 cents. This on the back of a strong performance in its data and international segments. Now, the group's service revenue is up by 7%, mainly driven by increased sales of high-end smartphones. Vodacom's share price ending at an all-time high, 113 Rand 44 cents, up almost 5% on the day. And of course, a standout, clear standout on the top 40 today. We've got the group CEO, Shameel Joosub, joining us at the desk to unpack what's in store going forward. Thank you so much for joining us. So just looking at the numbers, you've got 50.1 million customers overall across the group. Revenue was up 17.6 billion Rand. When it comes to the data side of the business, I mean, are you happy with the growth that you are seeing, given this is the area that is really generating earnings for one of the areas that is key earnings generator right now?
Very much so. I think there's a big opportunity both in South Africa and in Africa. And in South Africa, we've seen a huge increase in traffic. Our traffic is up 42%. Our revenue growth was 10% in the first quarter, and then 17.5% in the second quarter, off the back of a big price decrease in August last year. So I think there's good opportunity for growth. Our smartphone base is up 35% to 5.3 million. So, as we're putting more smartphones into the market, our ability to monetize data is obviously a lot better. Mm-hmm. In the international segment, huge opportunity. The data revenue is growing at 140+%. But really, and there I think there's an additional opportunity, which is really the M-Pesa mobile money, where in Tanzania we now have 4.2 million customers. And we're seeing a big revenue growth. It's now constituting 12.7% of revenue in Tanzania.
I mean, but what is the territorial agreement with Vodafone? Because, I mean, talking about M-Pesa, Safaricom M-Pesa in Kenya, and of course launching that, where is Vodacom allowed to go, and where is Vodafone going to stake its mark?
Well, I think basically the idea is that we would focus on sub-Saharan Africa. But I think Vodafone's are open to opportunities even further north, if the right opportunity presented itself for Vodacom.
So I mean, how does that, for example, you talk about Safaricom, so Safaricom Kenya, Vodacom in the East African region then?
Well, in Tanzania we're doing M-Pesa on our own, so that's been very successful. And then obviously we work very closely with Safaricom and also with Vodafone Ghana and Vodafone Egypt. So there's a lot of scale benefits that we get from being part of the Vodafone group, and for really maximizing some of the opportunities that come with being part of Vodafone. Especially in East Africa, we do a lot with Kenya and Tanzania in terms of OneNet and specific offers that we offer.
All-time high. Have you seen Vodacom's share today, Ian? I mean, the market certainly likes it. We'll, perhaps a question for Shameel, but I know that it's a dividend also that continues to rise and reward shareholders.
And on the dividend, just a question I'd like to ask. Just looking at earnings per share, 394 cents, headline earnings per share. Dividend, 355. Cover's getting a bit thin, isn't it? Does that mean that you're so confident of increasing revenue at a stronger rate that you'll be able to maintain that dividend?
Well, our clear intention is to pay out 90% of EPS. Okay, I mean, if yes. And at the moment, that's the guidance that we're giving, and for the foreseeable future, that's basically the guidance that we're doing. Obviously, if we make a big acquisition, then we could potentially change that, but there's no big acquisitions on the cards at the moment. So.
And the capital cost of infrastructure development, you're just going to cover out of
well, I mean, our debt cover is only 0.5%, so yeah. Our debt to EBITDA is 0.5%. So I think we have a lot of headroom, right, both on the debt cover and yeah, the 90% is I think a good point for us at this point in time.
You see, there's nothing to criticize. This is the point.
Well, let's get into kind of some of the new avenues for growth that you talked about. The fourth revenue cycle being mobile banking, m-commerce. I know that recently launching insurance products. So Vodacom, not only a telecoms company, but an insurance player now. Talk to us about the incremental growth that you can see coming through from this. I mean, what is the timeline for especially m-commerce, which you talk about?
Well, I think m-commerce is very much alive with M-Pesa. And just quoting some of the numbers that we saw or we're seeing in Tanzania, I mean, it's now 12.7% of our growth in Tanzania. We're now launching it in the remainder of our countries. So, I think there's a big revenue opportunity there. In South Africa, some work to be done in terms of the M-Pesa model, in terms of improving distribution and so on. But we're also seeing good opportunity with services like insurance, where we've established an insurance company, a Vodacom insurance company.
What was the strategic rationale behind moving into that space?
Well, I think, mobile money in Africa is a huge opportunity, because person-to-person transfer, and it's really finding a gap in using mobile to solve that issue of people being able to transact and transfer money home, and also to be able to buy goods and services is a huge opportunity. And so that's why we capitalized on the opportunity. I think Safaricom capitalized on it first, and then we started to, so here's a great opportunity, let's start to expand it to the other markets. And so it's grown, and I think we see a big opportunity in insurance as well, from a customer retention perspective, but also from the perspective that really being able to find a new revenue stream coming from insurance. In the first couple of months, without any advertising, we already sold 21,000 funeral cover policies. So, I think there's definitely room for growth, and we aim to capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about that LTE services program, what the roadmap looks like, and how you planning to distribute that into Africa and South Africa.
Okay, so coming back from Spain, I felt that as a country and as Vodacom, we were falling behind Europe. And I mean, as Vodacom, we've always been a leader in new technologies, and South Africa has always been right there at the cusp of these new technology launches. And so we decided to take LTE to market. And a couple of years ago, we already started the transformation. We started to invest in upgrading our network to what we call single RAN equipment, which basically readies the network for LTE. 75% of the network's already upgraded. And we're now putting in fiber and high-speed transmission to the base stations to be able to cope with the higher speeds and the higher traffic demand. 55% of our network's already covered with that. So today we already have 200 sites live. By Christmas, we'll have 500 sites live, and we see there's a huge opportunity to roll out. I think it's important to say as well that for us to continue the growth, we're obviously going to have access to spectrum, and we're engaging with government to be able to see how we can get access to spectrum quicker and faster.
And of course, that has been a major factor that has held the rollout back and
Correct.
will.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're focusing on as well is in each of the countries that we operate is to align ourselves more closely with the objectives of government. And so in South Africa, we're very keen in ensuring that we can deliver the 2020 broadband strategy. And I think we have everything lined up to be able to do it, except for the spectrum. So once we have the spectrum, I think we'll be able to deliver 2020 and to ensure that we have broadband access in every home.
Let's talk about the broader telecom space right now, because it's no secret that telecom is going through a very tough time at the moment. Cell C hasn't really managed to make any headway, and now we've got talk of the two perhaps merging. Do you think that this could ever be a reality in South Africa? Would this even pose a threat to Vodacom?
I think industry consolidation is happening all over the world, and I think you are starting to see more third and fourth players merging, or fourth and fifth players merging. So I think it could potentially happen. Will it change the landscape for us? I think we need to.
Are you preparing for that?
Well, I think we prepare for all competition, and and if it does happen, I think we need to stick to our game plan. We have a game plan, and as long as we're executing on our strategy, part of it is dealing with competition. Yeah.
And the last question, I mean, ARPU, clearly coming down, that of course has been a trend for some time, has been flagged, down 21% now, 127 Rand blended ARPU. Is the gains that you're making from mobile banking, from M-Pesa data, enough to keep up with the falls that we're going to continue to see in the voice side of the business?
So on data, yes, I think that the data growth will definitely offset it. I think the new services are still in its infancy, And obviously, as we grow the new services, that will become will help us to offset some of the ARPU decline. But I think part of our intent also is to try and stabilize the ARPU decline through activities such as customer value management.
To what extent? I mean, how much further is it going to go? 127 Rand now. Do you have any forecast on that?
Well, I think the issue for us more has been there's been a big cleanup in the first half in terms of least cost routing and so on, and that's played a big role in affecting at least the contract numbers. And in prepaid, we had a lot of calling card activity, which pushed up the overall revenue growth in prepaid but decreased the ARPU. So I wouldn't read too much into the prepaid ARPU decline, because I think we can obviously as we take control and sort out the calling card issue, that will cause ARPU in prepaid to rise again.